welcome back. So today what we're going to do is review proportional relationships, proportional tables, and constant of proportionality because you're going to take a quiz today. All right? So, we're just going to make sure that we are able to use a table and talk about quantities that are in a proportional relationship. And we're going to talk about the terms proportional relationship and constant of proportionality. And I know that we've talked about this before, but let's just review 3 ways that we can determine a proportional relationship. We can cross multiply or use what you guys call the butterfly method and make sure that our products are equal. We can use the scale factor for the numerator and denominator and make sure they're the same. Or we can simplify fractions or find the unit rate for those fractions and make sure those are the same to tell if they're proportional. For constant of proportionality, remember that is the unit rate for a proportional relationship. And remember we said the unit rate is the amount for 1, and it is constant. So from A to B, it's the same thing you're multiplying by every time. So let's do this. All right. So let's talk about these examples here. So if I have these proportions and I want to find an unknown cost. So I've got 8 apples cost $1.28. How much will 3 dozen apples cost? I'm going to set it up like this. I've got 8 apples for $1.28. And I'm going to figure out how much 3 dozen apples is. But I want number of apples, not number of dozens, okay? So 3 dozen, we know a dozen is 12. There are 3 dozen, there are 36. So I've got 36 apples for some number of cost. Now we know that we can use cross multiplying, we can use scale factor, or we can simplify these. I would like to figure out the unit rate here, so I can figure out what I'm going to multiply by 36. So I'm going to use a calculator because we're dealing with decimals. And it's okay if you use a calculator. I want you to just show me what you're doing. So over here to the side, you'll write 1.28 divided by 8. And I'm going to do that same thing on my calculator. And I get 0.16 or 16 cents. So I know for 1 apple, it equals 16 cents. Okay, so now I'm going to take that 16 cents for 1 apple and multiply it by 36. So I'm just going to do 0.16 times 36, and I get $5.76. So even though you're using a calculator on your quiz today, make sure you still write out how you get that answer. That way I'll know, okay? Next one. Megan purchased 12 square yards of flooring for a total of $432. What was the price of this flooring for 36 square yards? Again, let's write our proportions first. I've got 12 square yards. So I've got 12 square yards, and that amount was $432. What is the price for this for 36 square yards? So I've got 36 square yards, and I don't know the price. Well, this time, instead of using that unit rate, I want to maybe use the scale factor method. I know that 12 times 3 gives me 36. So let's do 436 times 3. 432, I'm sorry. 432 times 3 gives us $1,296. And that would be my answer. And all you would have to write here is 432 times 3, and I know where your answer came from. Okay? So that is proportional ratios, proportional relationships. Now let's talk about constant of proportionality and proportional tables. So the question might say, is this table proportional? Yes or no? And if yes, find the COP. If no, tell me why. Okay? So if I want to know if a table is proportional, I need to find the scale factor for every row. So I'm figuring out 4 times some number gives me $4.80. I don't know that. It's not going to be a whole number. So let's use the inverse operation. 480 divided by 4. Well, let's use our calculator. $4.80 divided by 4 is 1.2. I'm going to do that same inverse operation for every row. $8.80 divided by 11. You get 0.8. 360 divided by 4, 0.9. $10.80 divided by 9, 1.2. Is the scale factor the same for every row? It's not, so this is not proportional. And all you have to do for showing your work or explaining why it's not proportional is showing me what you multiply by for every row. That's all you have to do. You don't have to write anything out. Now let's move to the next row, or the next table, I'm sorry. And we want to know if it's proportional and what is the constant of proportionality. I'm always going to multiply by some number to go from x to y. So 40 times something gives me 2. I'm going to, again, use that inverse operation. 2 divided by 40. 2 divided by 40 is 0.05. So I know I'm multiplying by 0.05. 1 divided by 20, 0.05. 0.5 divided by 10, 0.05. 0.25 divided by 5 is 0.05. Are you multiplying by the same scale factor from x to y in every section? You are. So, yes, it is proportional, and the COP, or constant of proportionality, is 0.05. That's all you have to do. All right, let's look at one more set of examples. Now we have a table. We know it's proportional, but we have to figure out some missing values. So let's look at the first table. I'll go from 2 to 7. I need to figure out what I'm multiplying by for these other rows so that I'll know what I need to do to get to 35. I'm going to use the inverse operation here. I'm going to do 7 divided by 2. 7 divided by 2 gives me 3.5. So I know that I'm multiplying by 3.5 every time. So some number times 3.5 is equal to 35. You can use the inverse operation here as well. 35 divided by 3.5, that gives us 10. And I can write it in the table and circle it. Always be sure to circle your answers. So over here, let's look at this one. I've got spring rolls and people. So I've got 6 spring rolls to 3 people. So let's find what we're multiplying by. I know that I can do 3 divided by 6, inverse operation, and I get 1/2 or 0.5. So whatever is here, the people is half of the spring rolls. So 30 times 1/2 is 15. 40 times 1/2 is 20. Now I have some number times 1/2 is 28. So if I cut this number in half, 28 is 1/2. So to get that number, I'm going to do 28 times 2 to get what I'm missing. So 28 times 2 gives me 56. And all you have to do to show your work for this question is to put your scale factor in and show me what you're multiplying by or dividing by. Okay? So hopefully this will be a quick review and a very quick quiz for you. And I hope you have a great day.